Greetings, you pelt collectors. I hope you're doing well. My name is Graham, and welcome to the Crack-A-Pack here on LRRMTG. Today, we are opening a pack of Guilds of Ravnica, one of the times that we have returned again to Ravnica. I believe this is the most recent, but it all kind of blurs together a little bit. I don't even know what guilds are in this one. I think Golgari, and I want to say Boros, and then this guy looks like Demir, the person on the I don't know what card this is from on the cover of this. We're about to find out. This was given to us by Voiced Otter and Fuzzy in mail time, who also gave us a pack of Dominaria that you will have either seen recently or will be seeing in the near future, because we've recorded an episode, but I don't know what order these go up in. Let's get into it. Delightful. I almost said delicious, but I don't actually want to eat. I like to smell magic cards. Oh, what the? Okay, I don't like to smell magic cards, but I don't want to eat them either. This smells like the arcade room on the old BC ferries. That's a weird cultural touchstone for like a dozen people watching. Anyway, let's start with Fearless Halberdier. It's 2 and a red for a 3/2 human warrior, and that's all she does. But sometimes that's all she needs to do. Honestly, you were pretty sad if you had to run a Fearless Halberdier. There were just so many better cards. But here she is. Sworn Companions, 2 and a white for a sorcery, create 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink. Sure, it's fine. It's also not amazing. Maximize Altitude is a single blue mana for a sorcery. Target creature gets +1/+1 and flying until end of turn with Jumpstart. Not to be confused with the product of the same name. Actually, that is Jumpstart, one word with intercaps. And this is Jump-Start, if you really care. Anyway, you may cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a card in addition to paying its other costs, then exile this card. There was another thing like that. Oh, Retrace, I'm thinking of, but that you could do multiple times. This was a single time. So you maximize altitude, you pay 1 blue, you give a creature +1/+1 and flying, and then either right away or on a subsequent turn, you pay the blue mana again and discard a card, and then you get to do it a second time and give the same creature another +1/+1 or a different creature +1/+1 and flying. You know, this particular card, not astounding, but some of the Jumpstart cards you could do some real shenanigans with. It's a good thing to do with your land late game, you know? It's like, I don't need an 8th land. Make a thing fly. Torch Courier, single red mana for a 1/1 goblin with haste, and you can sacrifice Torch Courier to give another target creature haste until end of turn. So far, we're really just barreling along the mediocres here. This set had some really cool stuff. Torch Courier was not strictly among them, I would say. Maybe you're a fan of Torch Courier. Let me know about it in the comments. I shall not read it. Next, Bartizan Bats. I kind of liked Bartizan Bats. You wouldn't think so, because it's 3 and a black for a 3/1 flying bat. 4 mana for a 3/1 flyer. That's not amazing. But evasion was pretty good in this format, and you could kill people with Bartizan Bats if they didn't have any flying blockers, which they often didn't. Didn't pair up well against like a Muse Drake, for example, which was a 1/3, also for 4, that fly, that flew, that flay. It also it draws a card. It draws you a card. Starting to lose it a little earlier than normal today. Portcullis Vine is a single green mana for an 0/3 plant wall with Defender, and for 2 and tap and sacrifice a creature with Defender. It doesn't have to be the Portcullis Vine, it usually is, but it doesn't have to be. Draw a card. Nice. That was fine, honestly. It was not like, maybe nice is being too generous, but Portcullis Vine, you know, you would play it sometimes. Is it Locket? Yes, it is. 3 mana for an artifact that taps for blue or red, and for 4 mana, and tap and sacrifice it, draw 2 cards. I think we talked in the Dragon's Maze episode about the clue stones, and I like the Lockets much better. Like, there's still 3 mana for a mana rock that taps for one of these colors, but 4 mana in any combination of those colors to get 2 cards is much better than the clue stones with just their 1 card. Late in the game, you could actually get some playable stuff with it. Deadly Visit is 3 black for a sorcery, destroy target creature, and Surveil 2. Surveil was the Dimir mechanic, and it reads, look at the top 2 cards of your library. Well, the top n cards of your library, where n is the Surveil number. In this case, it's 2. Then put any number of them into your graveyard and the rest on top of your library in any order. So it's like Scry, but instead of going on the bottom, they go in the bin where they can be further useful. Surveil's great. This card's great. This card was a high pick because it just killed something and you got to Surveil. Iron Shell Beetle for an enormous beetle. Physically, not stats-wise. It's 1 and a green for a 1/1 insect. And when it enters the battlefield, you can put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Maybe it's the beetle, maybe it's something else. So like at worst, it's basically a grizzly bears, right? At worst, it's just a 2/2 for 2. But I'm only now realizing, looking at the art, it's on a bench and it's the size of the bench. And you would think in Ravnica that they would not stand for that. That, you know, call in the Selesnya and be like, yo, pick up your beetle and get out of here. Parhelion Patrol is next. We've got 3 and a white for a 2/3 Flying Vigilance Human Knight with Mentor, which is the Boros mechanic. We're 3 for 5 on the mechanics so far. Mentor says, whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature with lesser power. So if this attacks at the same time as something with 1 power, then you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and then that thing will then have 2 power. And then that's it. Then that's all the Parhelion Patrol can teach them. Because at that point, they're equal power. No more lessons to be had, unless you get a creature with Mentor with more power, and then they can teach them something different. Honestly, 2/3 Flying Vigilance just attacked and blocked really well. Like the Mentor on this particular card was kind of incidental. This card was just sort of like reliable on its own. Ledev Champion, 1 green white for a 2/2 Elf Knight, that says whenever Ledev Champion attacks, you may tap any number of untapped creatures you control. Ledev Champion gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each creature tapped this way. And also there's an activated ability, 3 green white, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. So you could make creatures as well. The Ledev Champion was sort of deceptive. Like early in the draft format, I was like, yeah, okay, that seems good. You know, it's a mana sink, make yourself some things, and it can, you know, like get bigger sometimes. But when they start going very wide with Convoke and making little 1/1s with stuff like Sworn Companions, and then they go, yeah, I attack with my Ledev Champion, tap all these creatures, it's a 7/7, and you're like, oh, I have to deal with that, or it's gonna deal with me in pretty quick order. Well, I mean, here's one way to handle it. An Inescapable Blaze. It's 4 red for an instant. This spell can't be countered, and Inescapable Blaze deals 6 damage to any target, which can include your opponent's face directly. I think we've all won a game like that, or lost a game like that through the course of this format. And yeah, sometimes you just pay 6 mana and kill your opponent. Not bad. Gird for Battle. It's a good word. Gird. Girding up for battle. Yeah? No? Alright. Single white mana for a sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. This was actually pretty good, because you could put a counter on something like the Parhelion Patrol, which has Mentor, and then sort of chain that into another +1/+1 counter on a creature of lesser power. And yeah, it's only 1 mana, so it does good stuff. Oh, baby. All right, we got a Selesnya Guildgate and an Elf Knight as our land and our token, but our rare is good old Legion Warboss. 2 and a red for a 2/2 Goblin Soldier, also with Mentor. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, any turn, even the turn you play this guy, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. That token gains haste until end of turn and attacks this combat if able. So you get to just start making goblins. They have to attack, so they probably get blocked, but if you attack with this, then they get bigger and then they attack as a 2/2. And if you can back up Legion Warboss with removal and get the Warboss in while surviving, your board just gets wider and wider with little goblins. And if you can get a bigger thing with Mentor and Mentor onto the Warboss, then it's scary. It's not legendary, you could play multiple Warbosses. This card did some stuff. This is a good one. The pack as a whole is worth almost $3, and most of that is the Legion Warboss, which doesn't surprise me. It would also be my first pick. That shouldn't surprise you. Nothing really is surprising, except for how big that iron shell beetle is, because I guess I've just never really looked at the art before. Like, yeah, beetle, don't worry about it. Wait, that thing's the size of a bench. So, Legion Warboss, get in, and hopefully we'll wheel something. I don't know, probably Gird for battle. People didn't take it that highly, I think. But maybe you could take highly supporting us on Patreon. No, that's like one of the worst segues I think I've done in a very long time. But you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun, which is how we do everything that we do, which is a lot of things. And I'm glad that you enjoy at least some of them, or at least you probably wouldn't be here listening to me tell you this part. If you want to send us a pack, you can do that to our P.O. box at Detention Crack-A-Pack. You can check out our store at store.loadingreadyrun.com. Swagger on over to the Discord. It's open to everybody at discord.gg/LRR. Why not? Be a part of the solution. The problem being that you're not involved enough in our community. Nothing makes sense anymore. I've been Graham, for the time being anyway, and I want to thank James for being here. Shoutouts to the editors, and most of all, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Crack-A-Pack.